Welcome to the Doggy Dojo. I'm your host, Susan Light, a Los Angeles-based dog trainer and behavior consultant on a quest to become worthy of the title Sensei of the Doggy Dojo. Today, we're going to talk about something that I find a lot of pet parents haven't given much thought to: vehicle safety. By that I mean keeping your pets safe while you're traveling in the car. So if you take your dogs places in the car, this episode is for you. My guest is an internationally recognized pet safety advocate, and she founded the Center for Pet Safety, CPS, in 2011. CPS is a nonprofit organization working on behalf of pet owners to ensure the safety of pet products on the market. With a keen understanding of the pet industry, she authored the first safety standards for pet products, launched a certification program, counsels pet product manufacturers around the globe, and works tirelessly for consumer and companion animal safety. She holds a bachelor's degree from George Mason University and currently leads the research division of CPS. Please welcome Lindsey Wolko. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
What is the Center for Pet Safety?
So Center for Pet Safety was founded it was actually before 2011, when my dog was injured by a safety harness while we were traveling on I-66. And I had to slam on the brakes to avoid a crash. And from there, I joined industry and learned more about it and how highly unregulated it is. And we did a pilot study starting in 2010, 2011, and looking at the safety of pet products and specifically travel harnesses for pets. Because if one were to fail, it could hurt me as the driver or my human passengers, but it could also really hurt my dog.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we started. So we are a consumer advocacy organization. We work on behalf of the pet owner. We do research. So we look into product safety. We define product safety. We develop safety standards. I talk to thousands and thousands of pet owners to understand when they have a problem with a product, how that product issue impacts them, right? So we do product testing, research, consumer advocacy, and we also work to educate pet owners. And it's not, we're based in the U.S. and we are a U.S. nonprofit organization, but our scope of work is actually, global. We talk to pet owners from around the globe.
Yeah, I think people are always surprised when I tell them how little oversight there is throughout the pet industry. There's not regulations in the United States, right? There's not regulations saying what it means to call yourself a trainer, any kind of, background or certification or education for that. Mm-hmm. All these other titles that people throw around, but all the way down to these products that are being sold to us. It's a huge industry, all these things. And you just have this assumption that these things are safe, especially a safety harness that's being sold to you, telling you it's safe.
Right. And this is the challenge. So the messaging coming out of industry is to get you to buy this product.
Yeah.
It's not, spend your hard-earned money on this, but it doesn't have to do anything. And, we see this beyond travel. We have a lot of things in flight behind the scenes that are going to be very disturbing for pet owners to understand, but they're critical to protect, your pets and to protect your financial and emotional welfare as well.
Definitely. So, it's great. We're going to talk beyond vehicle safety, but let's start with the vehicles because my husband's probably sick of me saying this, but driving a car is the most dangerous thing we do on a regular basis, most of us, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think unless you've been in an accident, you just take it for granted and you kind of become pretty cavalier about it. So I don't think a lot of people put as much thought into their pets' safety in the car as they should. So let's start there. What are your recommendations for pets traveling in vehicles?
Okay, so first and foremost, you need to restrain or contain your pets. Mm-hmm. And that can prevent distraction and that can help prevent a crash in the first place.
Yeah. But I see people driving down the road with dogs in their laps.
Oh, it's devastating when we get those reports in. I never thought about that this could happen to my dog or my cat.
Yeah.
And sadly, we also get those reports when pets are unrestrained and there is a serious crash, that in some cases that pet doesn't make it.
Yeah.
And in other cases, the driver or passengers don't make it either because the dog has hit them from behind.
Or they get loose, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
the vehicle is damaged and the dog just gets out of the vehicle. You're probably in traffic. Even if they don't get hit by a car, now they're lost. They're scared. They're running.
Yeah, and they become a danger to other people who are driving on the road. I mean, there are just so many implications to everyone here if a crash happens and you have a pet in the car. And that's kind of one of our goals, is to help educate. And this is kind of what highlighted when Maggie, I had an English Cocker, and she was restrained, but it was not a quality product. And she went head first into the back of the front seat. And she was seriously injured. And we were very lucky she survived. But oh my goodness, if pet owners only knew how bad this could get. I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but this is a safety issue that people, it's not only about your pets, it's also about your family in the vehicle, your human family.
Yeah. So restrain, contain, and how can we tell the difference between the really good products that are going to work in these situations and the ones that are just garbage that are being sold to us?
So until I founded Center for Pet Safety, there really was no way to do that. Marketing spin, now you've got influencers out there. Everybody's trying to promote and get you to buy their product. However, there was no science behind the products. It's basically like form follows function from a design perspective. So we hit the crash test lab. So we looked at what they were doing for child seats. We were looking at what they were doing for human passenger safety. And how could we apply that to pet products? So we brought on a team, we did a pilot study to prove that we needed to do this. We brought on a team of experts. And thankfully, Subaru of America at that time, they signed on to help us out. And we were grateful for their partnership at the time.
That's
so
awesome.
We ended up doing crash testing. Yeah, we did crash testing. We determined, we looked at what a product on the market could do, and then we assessed what it should do. And from there, we took the data from those studies and we developed safety standards for pet products that we use today to certify. We do an independent certification program. We would love to do massive comparative study, comparative testing, but we don't have the funding for that. So we developed a certification program where we independently assess the products. Manufacturers come to us. We talk about, we do a lot of knowledge sharing with the brands to make sure they understand what they have to do, what the product needs to do. And they go back to their drawing board in many cases, and they have to redesign their product from the ground up. But through that certification program.
That they're committed to
Yeah.
that. Some of them.
Some of them. Yeah. Some of them fight us tooth and nail. They would rather use marketing spin because it's cheaper, right? Why would we change our product when we can sell it to anybody?
Yeah. Those are the really scary ones because, correct me if I'm wrong, they can claim something is crash tested if they've done the crash test, but that doesn't mean it passed.
Yeah, it's subjective. What a pass means, it's subjective. So they assess, yep, that did it. That's how we want it to perform. Great. But we turn an independent eye to that in the interest of the interest of the consumer, of the pet owner, to see, does it really do what they claim it's going to do?
Yeah, that's awesome. So are there harnesses and crates, or does it matter versus the dog size, the small dogs, the big dogs, what they should be riding in?
It really depends on the size of the dog. So we've got harnesses, we certify harnesses, crates, carriers, and then pet travel seats. We have standards for all of them. For puppies, if you have a puppy that you're traveling with, if it would fit in one of the safety harnesses, you can use that. But we don't recommend you put a harness on a dog until it's at least a year old, because the growth plates have to, we want the growth plates to mature. And we want to make sure that those are safe and protected. So a harness probably isn't ideal for a puppy under a year. But it also depends on the kind of car you have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So passenger vehicles can typically handle the harnesses and carriers and potentially travel seats. We don't have any travel seats certified yet because the rules are pretty strict.
I was going to say, they don't seem that safe to me.
They're not.
It's just like a little dog bed, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And we did a pilot study on those, and you can find all of the videos on our website from our studies years ago. But it shows you how truly unsafe these products are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think something other people don't think about is the airbag.
Yeah, airbags are concerning. But again, that's one of the reasons we do not want the pet on the front seat. Because that airbag, when you travel, and it really depends on the age of the vehicle and how sensitive the sensors of the seat are. But if the airbag can be turned off, that's one thing.
Yes.
But we've had reports come in where a pet owner is involved in a crash, the airbag goes off, and their pet was, in a crate or carrier on the front seat, and that panel comes off, and the airbag slams on and the pet's killed instantly. And it's really, really tragic when that happens.
Yeah. Ooh, that's so scary. And that's what I tell people when they're like, oh, they just ride in my lap. I'm like, if you get in even minor accidents can pop your airbag. And maybe the dog would have been okay, but the airbag's going to kill them sitting in your lap.
Oh, I mean, even just the compression of even if it's not a serious crash where the airbag goes off, the compression between your pet and the steering wheel can do some major damage. I mean, this. I feel like Debbie Downer.
No, but I mean, hopefully we can save some lives by people thinking about this. Just let's drop it in their heads, Yeah,
it's important. And again, we talk to pet owners who have been through these situations where their pet has died.
Yeah.
Because of in a crash or a sudden stop, something's happened. Their pet's been seriously injured. So not only are they emotionally impacted by this, it's devastating when something happens because they immediately think they are at fault.
Yeah.
It's my fault. I didn't do a good enough job to protect my pet. And in some cases, sadly, that is true.
Yeah. But some people don't know any better. So that's why we're here.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, when you look at, pet owners are always asking us about the cost of the CPS certified products. Why are they so expensive?
Yeah.
That due diligence is not inexpensive for a brand to do. Yeah. And it's critical that you understand that the money that you would spend to try to reclaim your pet from one of these incidents can be thousands and thousands to tens of thousands of dollars, has been reported from pet owners. And these products that are CPS certified can help prevent those injuries in the first place. Yeah. And they will save you tons of money. But you have to, you want to get a quality product at the beginning. So you want to look for a CPS certified travel product.
Yeah. Are those listed on the website, or do you want to list a couple of brands that you like?
Well, we
start looking at.
Yeah, you can go to our website. It's I think it's on the upper left navigation. It's CPS certified, and you want to scroll down. So we have harnesses, crates, and carriers that have all been certified by our organization. As I said, we operate independent of industry, so there, there's no skin in the game here. But there are a lot of brands that are really working hard behind the scenes, and we are adding some new carriers within the next week.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So we've got new products, and we're doing certification testing. Usually it's every month, but right now, because of the schedule at the lab, we're doing every other month. So our days are very long there when we do those tests.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my dogs ride in Sleepy Pods because I know one of the trainers who works for Sleepy Pod, and she introduced it, and it was like, yes, but they are. I mean, I think one of them was $200 and one was like $250. But the vet bill from an accident would easily eclipse that.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. So it's not to say, it's privileged to say, oh, I bought them this $250 carrier. I understand that.
Mhm.
But it is an investment in safety. Like you don't skimp on your child's car seat because it's not worth it.
Right. And we do talk to pet owners who are, especially right now, it's just such an uneasy time in our world. And they're like, we can't afford that. So we do have advice for them. And if you cannot afford a CPS certified carrier, these are primarily for small dogs, right?
Yeah.
You would want to put it on the floor behind the driver or passenger seat on the floor of the vehicle. It's not perfect, but it is one of the safest places in the vehicle for a carrier. Can't do that with crates, can't do that with harnesses, sadly.
Right.
But for carriers, that is an option for the smaller pets.
Yeah. That's great advice. And just not in the front seat. Now, you know what? I do occasionally put a sleepy pod in the front seat because my car has the sensor. And now I'm going to not do that. Now I'm going to be like, wait, what if the sensor fails? Let's just put them in the back seat.
Yeah, it's safer. You always want to put your pets in the back seat. We actually have a guide on our website, and I'm happy to send you some links, Susan, to include.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah, to show you where the safest place to place your pet in a vehicle. What do you need to know? It's good information. It really is. And we are working on a new website, so I do apologize. It is a little old, but the information is still current. So
you can access all the great information CPS has available for consumers at their website, www.centerforpetsafety.org. The site has all the safety information for the products they've tested, as well as the ones they've deemed unsafe. You can support the work CPS is doing by donating. It's a nonprofit that exists only to advocate, educate, and help ensure the safety of our companion animals. I've put the link to the website and the link to donate in the show notes. We'll be right back. So let's open it up past vehicle safety to other pet products, because there's so many unsafe chew toys, for example, and chews and antlers and all these things that can cause harm to our pets. And again, I tell the pet parents and they're like, oh, they love it. It's fine. And why is this stuff on the market?
Until something happens. So there are just so many things that we could go over today. So when it comes to chew toys, one of the things we've identified, we have some major problems. And these are based on reports that have been made by pet owners. We have the vet records to back everything up. So treat toys for pets, treat dispensing toys for pets. There are certain ones where you can put little treats inside the toy, and it looks like a little goldfish or a little googly-eyed thing. Some of them look, but you want to be very cautious because it's a major design flaw with these treat type toys. If they do not have a secondary hole within the toy itself, and that hole needs to be at least 1/4 of an inch. If they don't, they can play with it, and they're trying to get the treat out. They stick their tongue into the toy, and the tongue gets sucked in. And if you're not home, that tongue could start to die. This is just, I feel so bad about these stories. I'm sorry, folks. But it's true. The tongue will start to die, and then there's an amputation, partial amputation. In some cases, the pet can't be salvaged. So major design flaw. We are going to issue warnings here coming up in the very near future for some of these things. The other ones where you have toys that we had a mechanical dispenser reported a few months ago, and the dog's jaw, it was a toy breed. The dog's jaw got stuck in the dispensing hole. And I have the pictures the folks send us. It's just crazy. And you've paid a lot of money for this, and now you have to cover the vet bills. And I guarantee you the pet industry they're set this up. It's almost conspiratorial in a way, to where they don't have to cover any of your vet bills. They beat people up all the time, and we have it's so scary. But yeah, treat toys for pets, that's a major problem area. I know pet owners are really concerned about the plush toys, but the number one reports that we get in are for the treat toys for pets, because Sometimes they're flavored, just the plastics, they're undigestible materials. Sometimes the rubbers, the nylons, the plastics or whatever, they have flavoring or they have a scent on them to encourage your dog to chew more.
Right.
But what that does is it encourages your dog to also consider it food.
Yeah.
And then you are, it's on an average, I'd say $8,000 for a surgical procedure to remove a blockage from the GI tract on a dog.
Yeah.
If they can do it, with an endoscopy type procedure, it's about $4,000 on average. But yeah, this is no joke. These are expensive bills, and you can contact the manufacturer and say, hey, this happened to my dog. And they're like, yeah, so you didn't supervise them.
Yeah. They put all the onus on you.
Yes.
As the parent. Ooh, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. And it's just something, people don't think about that. It's like, what happens?
Because it's made for the dog. Why would I not give it to my dog? Yeah.
And a lot of the toys, as you probably know, a lot of the toy materials out there, they are made to appeal to you, the pet owner, not the dog or not the cat, right? It's you see the little Disney characters, you see this, your dog doesn't care that it's a Mickey Mouse toy.
True.
He just wants to spend time with you, right?
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. That's so true. So the treat dispensing toys and the chews, were you talking about one of those that they push the button and the treat comes out?
Yep.
That the jaw got stuck in? Oh yeah, those are expensive.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then, while we're on this topic of toys, so we published a report, I think 2 years ago, maybe a little over that, on ball toys for dogs. And we have had so many reports come in about pet owners that go to the pet store and they buy a ball toy for their dog. Sometimes it has a launcher associated with it to get more speed and distance on that ball.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, it goes right down the throat of the dog. It blocks the airway. It's a near 100% fatality rate. And, I see the videos out there. We have talked to specialty vets, people who specialize in dog, physiology. And, you see the videos saying you just need to flip the dog on its back and use the thumbs.
Right.
That dog has to be unconscious for you to do that. And by that time, it may be too late because, asphyxiation, the oxygen deprivation part of it. Again, so we have on our website a warning. Many of those toys that are illustrated in that warning have been reported, and we have documentation to support that they have affected a dog in this way. It's usually large breeds, but it can happen to any pet. It depends on, I have toy breeds, but if I give them a toy or a ball or something that's too small to play with them, it can do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
But we recommend that you avoid launchers if at all possible. Yeah. If you choose to use one, never launch for the dog to catch it. You always launch away from the dog.
For them to chase it.
To chase it. You do not, and we've had instances where the dog was chasing too, but they're far fewer. Okay. It's usually when the dog is actually in that upwards catching motion. And with the saliva lubricating the ball and the speed, the velocity of the ball and the weight. Some of these balls are half a pound.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's insane how
heavy. Tennis balls, but
tennis balls, the solid rubber balls.
Yeah.
I don't know, when I was young, we used to have super balls. And they're like little rubber.
The bouncy ones?
The really bouncy ones.
Yeah.
Some of these are designed like that, but they are larger. But we have the full outline. You can go to centerforpetsafety.org and look at our ball, our dog ball toy advisory to understand the risks, but always throw the ball so your dog catches it. And I'm not catches it, but chases it. You do not want to throw the ball and have the dog catch it.
Because that's going to lodge it right into their mouth.
Yep.
That makes sense. And then size-wise, you want bigger rather than smaller for choking, right? So I think is the rule of thumb, it shouldn't get past the teeth, right? Shouldn't be able to get the ball inside their teeth.
Correct.
You want it to be big enough that they have to bite on it. They can't get it completely in their mouth.
Yes. And again, we, if we talk to brands on a regular basis to say, hey, look, they're like, hey, we're developing this toy. What do you think about it? We're trying to get brands to be very mindful of this problem because it is far more common than any pet owner even realizes. Because we need the toys to be bigger, but the dog still needs something to grab onto.
Yeah.
So we've seen string toys, we've seen dogs or toys that have, or balls that have the ropes attached to them.
Sure.
We have seen some brands are coming out with ones that are hollowed out in the middle. But when we talked to the veterinarians that we speak with, they were like, look, when a dog is in that situation, the dog's throat will close in. So even though the ball might be hollowed out, it's not necessarily going to protect the pet.
Wow.
As I told you, we're so happy, Susan.
We're not trying to give people a complex, but it's just like we want to think about this before it happens to you, before unfortunately it happens to somebody.
Yeah, it's crazy, and there are just so many concerns. And industry they want to turn a blind eye because in most cases they are completely unaccountable. However, it's easier for them to pay off a pet owner for an injury or a death than it is for them to change the product and take an unsafe product off the market.
So even the people who might sue to try to get it off the market, they're probably just going to try to settle.
Yeah, they'll settle. And you will have to sign a no fault so that the manufacturer's not to blame, and a non-disclosure. So once they pay the money to you, you can't talk about that incident ever again. So it keeps unsafe products on the market. And that's where we start getting into that whole, this is kind of conspiratorial, isn't it? Because pet owners are financing the pet products industry, but then in turn, they are not accountable for the products that they put on the market.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But it's true. I mean, that's the state of it.
I've done this for well over 20 years, and I'm sitting here going, every day we have to tackle something. So we do have some studies in flight, so that'll be interesting. Hopefully, we just finished a study on or looking at suffocation risks for pet food containers, of all things. So I have a friend of mine, Bonnie Harlan, runs Prevent Pet Suffocation. And years ago, her dog suffocated in a chip bag.
Oh,
it's a risk nobody thinks about. Yeah. But when she started this, she runs a nonprofit. So when she started the nonprofit, she started to hear from pet owners, just very much like we hear from pet owners. And she's got significant data that she's collected showing that the products that you purchase to store pet food, they're specifically marketed to store pet food or pet litter. They are a primary risk for suffocation, and 86% of container-related events lead to suffocation, primarily for cats, some dogs, but primarily for cats. So we sampled products. We looked at 5 different designs. It wasn't so much the specific product, but it was like, where is the latch? Is it hinged? What is going to be safer? How does the product perform? And we took the stories from pet owners that she shared with us, and we applied the logic to it to say, all right, so how did this happen to this cat? And it's very interesting. It seems pretty basic, but a hinge on a lid for a container, a pet food container, is a primary risk. A latch on the lid can also be an even more significant issue because it can
lock them in.
It can lock them in. It depends on the style. It depends on where the latch is. But yeah, I encourage pet owners to just, if you use products you've purchased, like containers to store pet food, definitely take a moment and just review the study. It's on our website. Take a look at it. You may want to change your container.
Yeah. Because I would think most of them have hinged tops and latches.
They do, but our study shows that something with a screw-off lid or a screw-on lid, however you want to go, you actually have to physically remove the lid, and it is unable to close on its own. Yes. So we identified one, I think it's called the Vittles Vault. They have a whole line of...
Oh, sure. I have Vittles Vaults. Yeah.
Yep. So those are the style of container that are going to be the safest to prevent suffocation events. With a caveat, if you have a Rottweiler or something that's got a big head, you want to make sure that you keep that lid screwed on. And
I'm sorry. I'm just picturing the little Rowdy with the thing on his head. It's not funny.
It's not. But again, that's one of those things that we have detailed in the report. So, make sure your dog can't get his head stuck in that container. But this is primarily based on the data Bonnie shared with us. Primarily cats are affected in these situations.
Curiosity killed the cats.
They love boxes.
They do. Poor babies. I have 2 cats. They're in the room right now. We're about out of time. There's so many more things I would love to hear about, because I would never have thought about food containers being suffocation risks. I mean, this is fascinating. But let's just tell people kind of like, if we've piqued their interest and they're like, oh my God, where can they go? How do they use the website? How can they get in touch? Give us all the rundown.
Okay. So website is centerforpetsafety.org. And all the information on our website is free for use. So we do encourage pet owners to come in and do a deep dive. Our primary focus for the last many years have been on travel. So you can go to the CPS certified list to find an independently certified product. You can look for our logo on those products. We do allow the use of our logo and issue those for the brands to use. They have to pass testing and they have to meet certain terms and conditions. So that is, important for pet owners to know that we are a reliable source for those safety devices. We have lots of information that we are adding to the website currently. So again, we've got the suffocation risks, we've got the toy warnings. We're publishing more over the next month. A lot of information, a lot of articles coming out, a lot of investigative work behind the scenes going on. So
awesome. I'm really excited for that. I'm going to be all over that. Thank you so much. Do you have any parting, one thing you wish everybody knew? Or have we sort of already hit it?
Again, I don't want to end on a low note. But no, if you've had an issue with a pet product, any issue with a pet product, if your pet's been injured or worse, we need to hear from you. We need to talk to you. We want to talk to you. So please reach out. Your primary email is info@centerforpetsafety.org. And someone from our team will get in touch with you. We'll do an intake report and we will get that information so that we can help share with other pet owners so the same thing won't happen to them.
Yeah. And people can also support your mission, right? So since you're a nonprofit, they can donate.
Oh, absolutely. And we can use every penny we can get.
Well, it sounds like you guys are doing a lot of work.
It's bootstrapped.
Those crash labs aren't free.
It's bootstrapped for the most part, but it would be helpful if pet owners could donate, buy us a cup of coffee every month or something like that. $5 donation per month would help. But that helps fund our product sampling. That helps fund some of the consultants we have to bring in, some of the experts that we work with. So yeah, any donations are greatly appreciated. They are tax deductible as allowed by law. You want to check with your tax advisor, but we are a 501c3 and we could really use your help. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to tell us about all these things.
Yeah, I'm glad, but I just don't want to be sad for everybody. Debbie Downer again. I just want.
No, I think it's so good. For me, I'm worst case scenario always. I want to know the risks. Right?
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Mitigate them.
Yeah, that's the thing. The marketing around the pet products industry is, everything's happy, everything's furry and bouncy and wonderful. But in our world, what we're hearing from pet owners is that is not the truth behind the pet industry.
Yeah, buyer beware.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you for stopping by the dojo this week. This is your aspiring sensei, Susan Light, signing off. You can find me at doggydojopodcast.com or I'm Susan Light LA on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook. The music was written by MacLight. You can find him at maclightsongwriter.com. If you like the show, you can support it by subscribing, sharing it with your friends, rating it, and reviewing it on Apple Podcasts. Just a reminder, this podcast is intended for educational purposes only and does not constitute advice or professional services by either the host or any of the guests. I'll be back in 2 weeks with another new episode of the Doggy Dojo.